How about you just go to sleep? Is that a good idea? Is that a good idea? You're so tired. Hello and welcome to Called and Caffeinated. My name is Stacy Summerow. It is a pleasure to have you with me. I wanted to share today a testimony of two amazing saints who have been powerful intercessors for my family, especially in the last year. When people tell me that they have a special relationship with a saint, it honestly kind of rubs me the wrong way, because a lot of times I feel like if they're like, just go to St. Alphonsus Liguori and just put it at his feet, he's gonna take care of it. I just feel like that's too simplistic. I'm like, okay, well, awesome that you have this great relationship with this saint. Fabulous. It's like telling me, this person is your best friend. Great for you, but I don't have that relationship with that person, and it sounds way too simplistic. It sounds kind of dismissive for them to just be like, just go put it at the feet of the Blessed Mother, put it under her cloak. So I want to be sensitive to that, because I'm not telling you that you have to have this relationship with this saint. I'm just saying when you start praying to them, you can develop that relationship. So anyway, that's just a little disclaimer I want to make right at the beginning of this episode here. A lot of times we kind of forget that God actually does sometimes answer our prayers even better than we had hoped, and that we really can use the saints as powerful prayer intercessors, but also our friends. So there are two very special saints that I want to talk about today. One of them has been an amazing advocate in my life for many years, Saint Therese of Lisieux. She is my confirmation saint. I wanted to be just like her when I was a child. Before I wanted to become an actress, I wanted to be a Carmelite cloistered nun, discalced, no less. And Saint Therese has been kind of accompanying me throughout my life. She kind of, I think, brought my husband and me together because he loves Saint Therese as well, and that was something we talked about in our very first message on Catholic Match to each other. And there have been multiple times where I've prayed the novena to her and asked for a rose, and I have gotten, if not a rose, a flower in answer to my prayer. I want to share one of those instances. Last year, I'm an avid gardener, and I did everything that I could on our little plot of land that we have, but I wanted to have a bigger garden. I wanted to have more space. I was just completely overrun, could not find space for all of my plants. So I started praying to Saint Therese for a bigger garden. And I prayed the novena, and as the novena kind of went on, I'm really bad at praying novenas, and as the novena went on, I started my prayer evolved. And so it took me like 20 days to finish this novena instead of 9. And as I prayed, I started asking her for a bigger house, for a forever home, for not just like a bigger garden, but a beautiful garden, more like 2 acres or maybe 5 acres or whatever. And my prayer just evolved, and I realized, oh my goodness, I've been thinking too small this whole time. I really would love to move to a bigger house, which I think our family needs, because I was pregnant with baby number 4, this guy, at that time. And so this prayer just kind of evolved into, a big ask for Saint Therese. And then the day after I finally finished the novena, my little Zelly, my daughter, brought me a rose. And the cool thing about that is she's named after Saint Therese's mother. And the other cool thing about that is we hadn't had roses at our house all season. The Japanese beetles ate them this year, but we have 2 little rose bushes out front, and I hadn't seen roses on them in months, but my daughter found one in September, October, something like that. October, I think. So I was all excited, and then lo and behold, my husband was not a fan of the bigger garden idea. Frankly, he just didn't want to put in the work. He didn't see the value in it, and it was very disappointing to me because I had gotten my rose, I prayed my novena, I was like, why is this not working out? And so John and I really started to realize that we needed to get on the same page in terms of what our dreams are. My dreams had become bigger than his, as in a sense, or different than his, I should say. Bigger in the sense that I wanted more land and I wanted a homestead, whereas he didn't feel like it was time to leave this house yet. He wasn't in the space yet where he wanted to build or look for a bigger house. Meanwhile, the market is getting brutal in this area. Even though we have the highest interest rates in like 20 years or something, this area where we live now in Winchester, Virginia is exploding. The population is growing so much, and so the housing market is still extremely competitive. And not only that, but leaving this house for a bigger house with a much higher interest rate was going to cost us a lot of money. Around that time, we were telling some friends of ours about our housing troubles and all of our wonderments, and they said, pray to Saint Joseph. They said, whatever you ask of St. Joseph, you will receive. And that is a quote from St. Teresa of Avila. Actually, she wrote that in one of her books. And so they told us about this St. Joseph's Cloak Novena, where you put your family under the patronage of St. Joseph's cloak. So you basically call on his protection. They said that they had prayed this. It was a novena, but not really, because it was 30 days long and it takes about 20 minutes to pray. It's not just like a quick novena, which is usually 2-3 minutes maybe. This was like a 20-minute affair every single day for 30 days. But they said that they had written out what they needed, the kind of house they needed, very specific, how many minutes to work, how big, how many square feet, how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, everything. And they said St. Joseph answered this prayer in this very competitive housing market in Winchester. So we said, okay, we're going to do it. And our bigger prayer was also getting on the same page within our own marriage of what we were actually looking for. So we start praying this novena and we keep talking about what we're thinking of and dreaming of. We write down what we want. And honestly, what we asked for was pretty impossible. We were asking for 2 to 5 acres. We wanted some open space and some woods. We wanted to have at least 2,500 square feet for our house, which, maybe that sounds big to some people, maybe that sounds small to some people. For us, that's what we felt we really needed, as well as a basement. We have very energetic children. So all of these things, and in the market with what the going rates are for houses around here, it was kind of impossible. So we start praying this novena, we start getting on the same page with each other, we write it all down, and right at the end of the novena, this beautiful place comes on the market. It's a beautiful 5-acre lot. It's half wooded and half open space, and it's in the exact location where we wanted to move. And I can't tell you the full story for a couple of reasons on the internet here, but let me just say, St. Joseph pulled out a miracle for us, and we were able to get the land like a day after it came on the market. So now we are working with a builder whose name is also Joseph, not coincidentally. St. Joseph has really worked a miracle for us, and St. Therese has also been a huge part of that. And this comes back to what I've said so many times on this channel, that so often discernment is not about what God telling you exactly the plan or exactly what he wants, but you actually figuring out what you yourself want. Now, I know I've addressed this in the last 2 episodes ago, where I encourage people not to pray for a sign. And I stand by that. I think sometimes praying for a rose from St. Therese can be very tricky, because lo and behold, I got my rose and my prayer wasn't going to be answered the way that I thought it was going to be. I thought we were just going to put a fence in on the side of our house so that I could build a bigger garden for this gardening season. But there was actually something way bigger in the works, and it took praying that novena and discerning our desires in order to get to that place where our prayer could be answered so much more spectacularly than we would have even imagined. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me for this episode of Called and Caffeinated. Look out for my next one. I'm going to be talking about a concept that I've never articulated before, but it's been brewing in my brain for years. It's called The Problem Is Not the Problem. And I think it's really going to help a lot of people with their discernment journey. So I'm really excited to release that one. So stay tuned for that. God bless you.